The sound of a screen door slamming and the hum of a streetlight. In 1998, those were the only two things that told your mom you were finally home. No GPS, no tracking apps, no on my way texts. She had no idea if you were 3 blocks away or 3 neighborhoods over. And you know what? Neither did you, really. You just went. Out the door, down the street, and into whatever the day decided to become. And somehow, every single night, you made it home. If you grew up before smartphones, you already know exactly what that felt like. That particular kind of freedom that nobody had a name for because nobody needed one. It was just life. It was just Tuesday. And if you didn't grow up then, if you're watching this wondering what people mean when they get quiet and a little wistful about the way things used to be, then stay with me. Because what we had was something that's almost impossible to explain. But I'm going to try. This is before it changed. Let's start with summer, because summer was different then. Not just a little different, completely, fundamentally different in a way that's almost impossible to explain to someone who grew up with a phone in their hand. Summer meant disappearing. You woke up in the morning, ate whatever was in the kitchen, usually something with too much sugar that your parents only halfway approved of, and you walked out the front door. No plan, no group chat to coordinate, no itinerary. You just went outside, and outside was where everything happened. The system for finding your friends was simple. You rode your bike to their house and knocked on the door. If they were home, the adventure began. If they weren't, you moved to the next house. That was it. That was the whole system. No texts, no you up, no checking someone's location before you headed over. You just showed up, and it worked. Every single time it worked. You could be gone for 6, 7, 8 hours, and no one panicked. Your parents weren't tracking your location every 20 minutes. They trusted the world. They trusted you. And somehow, that trust felt like the biggest gift anyone had ever given you, even if you didn't have the words for it then. The contract was one line long. Come home when the streetlights turn on. That was it. That single rule contained an entire childhood. And the boredom, because there was boredom, real boredom, the kind that had nowhere to go, that boredom was different too. When there was nothing to do, you didn't scroll. You couldn't. So instead, you did something. You built a fort out of whatever wood you could find in the backyard. You made up a game with rules that changed every 5 minutes. You lay down in the grass and stared at clouds until they started looking like things. You were bored in a way that eventually, almost always, turned into the best part of the day. Every hour felt physical. It existed outside of a screen. And by the time the streetlights flickered on and you rode home with tired legs and dirty shoes, you had actually lived that day. Not documented it, not streamed it, lived it.
But the summer wasn't just about what happened outside. It was also about what you heard. Before the silence of the swipe, the world had a completely different soundtrack. A mechanical one, a physical one. The click and snap of a cassette tape sliding into a player. The soft hiss of a TV searching for a signal. The stretch of a corded phone being pulled as far as it would go down the hallway because you needed just a little more privacy for this particular conversation. And the music was an event in itself. You didn't just open an app and play whatever you wanted. You waited. You sat by the radio with your finger hovering over the record button on your tape player, listening for the song you wanted, hoping, genuinely hoping that the DJ wouldn't talk over the intro before you could capture it. And when you got it, when the tape caught it clean from the very first note, that song felt like yours in a way that a playlist never quite does. You earned it. You waited for it. And that waiting gave it weight. That's what people mean when they say things felt more real then. It's not that the things themselves were better. It's that the effort required to get them made you feel something when you finally did. And then Friday came. There was a feeling that arrived every Friday afternoon that's genuinely hard to describe. A collective exhale, like the whole neighborhood breathed out at the same time and the weekend rushed in to fill the space. School was done, the week was over, and Friday night had a ritual. The video store. You have to understand, the video store wasn't just a place you went to pick up a movie. It was an event, a destination. You got in the car as a family, drove over and walked through those doors into a world of pure possibility. The smell of plastic cases, the rows and rows of tapes organized by genre, the cover art that was sometimes more exciting than the actual movie inside. And then came the argument. Every single family had it. Without fail, every Friday, standing somewhere in the middle of the aisle, one person holding up a comedy, someone else pushing for action, someone in the back saying they didn't care, but actually caring very much. 20 minutes of negotiation that felt somehow like half the fun of the whole night. You finally picked something, you brought it home, and then the whole family sat together on the same couch in the same room watching the same screen. Nobody half-watching while scrolling through something else, nobody with earbuds in one ear. The movie had everyone's full attention because the movie was all there was. And that shared experience, laughing at the exact same moment, grabbing the same arm during the same scare, looking at each other when something unexpected happened, that was really something. That was a Friday night, and it happened every single week like clockwork. As Friday night faded into Saturday morning, something shifted in the house. The adults stayed in bed a little longer, the world hadn't started yet, and that quiet window, that specific hour between when the house was still and when the day actually began, that belonged entirely to you. Saturday morning cartoons were sacred. You came downstairs in your pajamas before anyone else was awake, you poured a bowl of cereal, the kind with too much sugar and a prize inside, and you sat down on the carpet right in front of the TV, close enough that someone would probably tell you to move back, and you watched, for hours sometimes, completely absorbed, completely content. Those cartoons didn't stream on demand. There was no algorithm queuing up the next episode automatically. They aired once, at that specific time, on that specific channel. If you missed it, you missed it. No replay, no catch-up. It was gone until next week or maybe forever. And that scarcity made it matter in a way that unlimited content never quite manages. You were there for it, fully there, not half there while something else played in another tab. Saturday morning was yours in a way that felt almost holy. The adults were still sleeping, the obligations hadn't arrived yet. It was just you and the TV and the cereal and a few hours that belonged to nobody but you. But as the cartoons faded into afternoon reruns and the smell of something cooking began drifting from the kitchen, the day moved towards its own quiet ritual: dinner. Family dinners back then weren't a wellness strategy. They weren't a conscious decision to disconnect or a habit someone recommended in a book. They were just dinner. Everyone came to the table because that's what happened. That's what the early evening meant. Food was ready and you sat down. No phones beside the plates, not because anyone made a rule about it, but because there was nothing to put there. The table was just a table, and the people around it were just your people. Conversations happened the way conversations are supposed to happen, face to face, without an audience, without documentation. You found out what was going on in each other's lives, not through a post or a story or a notification, but by actually asking, by sitting across from someone and watching their face while they answered. You could tell when something was wrong, even if they said everything was fine. You could feel the mood of the table shift in real time. You were actually physically present, not performing presence, actually there. Sometimes the conversations were boring. Sometimes someone was in a bad mood and the whole table felt it.
Here you go, watch the
Sometimes
water.
it was
Did you grab a
loud and
roll yet?
chaotic, and someone spilled something and someone else got in trouble. But it was real. Every single night. It was shared and it was real and it was yours. Nobody called it special because it wasn't special. It was just Tuesday night, just dinner, just life. And then, gradually, something began to shift. Not all at once. That's the part people always get wrong when they try to explain it. It wasn't one dramatic moment. It was slow. So slow that most of us didn't notice it was happening until we looked up one day and realized the world we knew was already somewhere behind us. First came the beepers, then the car phones that only certain people had, then the first cell phones, the ones the size of a brick that cost a fortune per minute to use. And we thought, this is just a tool, a convenience, something for emergencies. We had absolutely no idea. Then came the day a glass rectangle was pulled from a pocket on a stage, and the world we knew began to shrink into a screen. The crowd cheered, the man holding it said, "This changes everything," and he was right, it did, just not in the ways we were imagining in that moment. Slowly, the streets got quieter. The kids who used to be outside until the streetlights came on started staying in. The video stores began closing, one then another, then all of them, their shelves empty, their signs dark. The paper maps disappeared from the glove compartment. The cassette tapes got packed into boxes. The dinner tables changed too, not all at once, but gradually. One phone appeared beside one plate, then another, and then it just became the way things were. Nobody remembered agreeing to it. Nobody made a decision. It just happened one distracted evening at a time, until the silence of the feed replaced the noise of the conversation. Saturday morning cartoons moved online, where they were available anytime, any day, on demand, which meant they were special no time. The ritual dissolved, because there was nothing left to wait for. And the summers, the long, unscheduled, untracked, magnificent summers, those changed most of all. The streets that used to be echoed with bike tires and screen doors and kids calling each other's names went quiet. Not silent, just quieter, in a way that you noticed without quite being able to say why. That world still exists in pieces, in the sound of a screen door slamming on a warm evening when the light is going golden, in the smell of cut grass on a Saturday morning before anyone else is awake, in the specific weight of a VHS tape in your hand, in the static of a radio between stations, and in that feeling, you know the one, that arrives sometimes without warning, usually when things slow down for just a moment, a feeling like something was simpler once, like somewhere just behind you, just out of reach, there's a version of life that moved at a completely different pace, a version where summer lasted forever and Friday nights had rituals, and Saturday mornings belonged to you, and the dinner table was just the dinner table. That feeling is the memory talking. That's before it changed, reaching forward through time, just to remind you it was real. It happened. You were there. And if you weren't, if you're too young to remember any of this, and you've been watching, trying to understand what people older than you get so quiet about sometimes, well, now you know. This was life before the notification, before the feed, before the algorithm decided what came next. This was summer that meant freedom, Friday nights that meant family in a video store arguing about a movie, Saturday mornings that meant yours, dinner tables that meant presents. This was before it changed, and it was something worth remembering.